welcome to Pittsburgh Sports Line. Glad you're watching the show. We have a great show for you. A lot of interesting sports topics, of course. I have a few fundraising advomercials that we'll put out there for you. And we usually start our segment out with what's on your mind. But first, I'm going to thank some of our viewers. Ann at Shop and Save. Hello, Ann. I forgot to say hello to you last week. Grasshopper back there in the deli department. Hello to you. And all the friends. Chief, see us next Monday, level 20. All right. What's on your mind, fellas? We're going to start with Big Mike Butera.
Hi, Shop and Save, Grasshopper, Ann, and
don't forget the Chief.
Fredo, Chief. I'm going to forego my baseball segment again because that's all I know. I'm going to go into something else, but I'm going to ask the profiteer Chip to allow me to chip in on his pirate, pun intended, on his pirate segment tonight because I have a pretty good update for everybody. But
good.
What I wanted
nice
to
teaser there, Big Mike. Nice teaser.
Teaser?
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you. What I wanted to discuss is this past weekend's events, which was Veterans Day. Actually, it was Veterans Day yesterday, and then the whole weekend was pretty cool with honoring the vets. And it's not because I am one, which in fact I am, but I wanted to bring out the fact that the recognition of the veterans has become great over the past, which would be about 11 years now, unfortunately brought upon by the events of 9/11. But it's nice to see the veterans getting their due respect, because I can tell you for a fact that it's been a long time. I mean, World War II returning veterans, yeah, they did get a lot of attention, and rightfully so. Korean War vets were lost in a shuffle. Vietnam vets, myself being one, we weren't received well at all. I can tell you that, quite frankly, and this is not about me, but I just want to tell you what I experienced this past weekend and previously, is when I traveled in the Army upon returning home from Vietnam, and my last few months of service, I traveled incognito. If I wasn't on the Army base, I didn't need the aggravation that came up. And it's not. Moving on, this past weekend, I was in the parade on Saturday downtown Pittsburgh, and there was just Liberty Avenue down to Stanwix, wherever the thing was, man. It was lined with people on both sides of the street, people waving flags, people just having signs saying thank you, and on and on and on. And I thought that was so cool. Devin Shea, one of our guys behind the scenes here, is a vet as well, and I hope you're listening, Deb, because this is for you as well. The parade was awesome. I followed it up. It was followed up with a memorial service for the 25th anniversary of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial on the North Shore, and I can assure you that was emotional. And then on Sunday, and again, this is not about me, but I'm going to tell you what I did on Sunday. I work a couple days a week at the Aspenwall Veterans Administration Clinic, and what transpired on Sunday was awesome in itself. The River City Brass Band, I think that's the name of the group, the organization. They came and donated an hour plus of their time to put on a show for the vets, and I just think it's awesome that the people are getting their due respect. And God bless America, as always. There you go.
Thanks, Big Mike.
Hey, no.
Thanks for serving our honor, and thanks for letting us have the free speech here that we're going to have this evening.
Oh, that's part of the job, guys.
And if I become a little sarcastic toward you, thanks for letting me do that and fighting for me.
It's my pleasure, guys.
All right, now
pass it down to the boys.
We're going to try to get thanks. We're going to try to get some sports on the table here, and we're going to go to our NFL expert and our sports guy who's a guru, Smoking Jim Frazier. What's on your mind?
Hey, thanks, Taka Machine, and Big Mike. I want to salute your service. Devin Shea, want to salute your service as well. Want to also thank Big Mike and Chip's beautiful wife, Stephanie, for being part of the studio audience last week on Steel City Sports World. Again, Chip was a celebrity guest and hit a home run. I tell you what, calls were coming in not only for people becoming fans of Chip, but calls coming in for Chip to replace the other white co-host on the show, but so we may have to do that in the near future. But hey, the replacement referees, Rob Gateway. Gateway clearly the best team in the state. Congratulations to Woodland Hills. You beat Gateway. You're out of it after this next week. Upper St. Clair will whoop you down. But hey, congratulations to the Blackhawks. Bethel Park made it to the quarterfinals with only a freshman quarterback. I'm looking forward to watching Bethel Park football for the next 3 years. I think it's going to be exciting brand of football here in the southwestern part of Pennsylvania. And also, is it any surprise the worst offensive line in football hurt one of Cowher's players, Big Ben Roethlisberger, maybe a separated shoulder, maybe a sprained shoulder. The man is Superman, but he can't come back from the terrible offensive line that's going to get some people killed. Listen, this is a guy that had a torn rotator cuff in preseason. Big Ben's been struggling all season long to stay healthy on that right shoulder. I don't know how long he's been out. Listen, the slowest black quarterback in the history of the game is Byron Leftwich. When he was at Marshall, they used to carry him from the play to the huddle back to the snap. This man is slow. Listen, Haley's offense is predicated on quick, short passes. Byron Leftwich winds up his passes and throws. It's going to be way too slow. Charlie Batch is an old man. Listen, he got a shelf life of about 2 games, so you can't go to Charlie Batch. This is on the coaching staff. They got 2 old guys backing up the quarterback. If they had a young, fast, quarterback like, say, a Dennis Dixon. Wait a minute. Dennis Dixon just signed with the Baltimore Ravens, so that's out. But the Baltimore Ravens is still going to allow him to play on Saturdays for West Virginia.
Smoking Jim. Thanks for your great insights there. Appreciate it.
I thought it was supposed to be the NFL.
That comes later. He always throws a curveball out here, even though it's football season. So that's what makes it fun, and we get all these people watching. 412-831, Big Mike, 3304. He forgot, folks. Give us a call. Watch us on YouTube, because now you got Chip the Prophet Hayner, soon to take the other token white guy's job in the city, folks. And I'm just kidding.
Just to give a little shout out to my good friend Magic Mike Migliore. I want to recognize.
Now they know who we're talking about.
I want to recognize your service to our country too, because you fought in the first Gulf War, and that event changed your life. But we appreciate you, Mike. I do, because you got me started on this, and I can't thank you enough. But let's talk about some college football. There's quite a number of different topics I want to talk about in the college football, but. Now, you look at the BCS rankings again, and I rail on and on and on about the BCS because I think it's horrible what they've done to college football. But now, finally, after Alabama gets beat by the 15th-ranked Texas A&M Aggies on Saturday, they dropped all the way to number 4, okay? All the way to number 4, which means that there's an outside chance that Alabama will still play for the national title. The 3 undefeated teams in front of them, Kansas State and Oregon. Now, what I'd really like to see have happen is these 3 teams win out and actually play one another for the national title. But if you look at the polls, none of these polls have any of these teams ranked in the same place. Oregon's ranked number 1 in a couple of polls, Kansas State in another. Then there's the computer rankings, and there's the BCS rankings. But, wouldn't it be interesting if Notre Dame, Kansas State, and Oregon would all win out, okay? And finally, there'd be Kansas State. Neither Kansas State, Oregon, or Notre Dame are going to drop in the rankings. So Kansas State and Oregon would play for the national title. Can you imagine the backlash that's going to come from Notre Dame being 12-0 and not playing for the national championship? Might this actually get people's attention enough? Because Notre Dame's the only school in the NCAA that can negotiate its own television contract with a major network, okay? So they've got a little bit of stroke, and maybe they could do something to get the BCS system changed. Okay, now enough about that, but let's go about our local college football scene. Pitt, like I said, after the first 2 games this year, is an absolute embarrassment. They fell flat on their faces against UConn. They were 1-8, and they were down 24-0 at the half. Pitt was, which guaranteed them that they weren't going to win, because the next game that Tino Sunseri brings his team back to win will be the first. Okay? Next, you look at what West Virginia has done. Geno Smith was the #1 Heisman candidate. West Virginia was ranked number 4 in the nation. They were 5-0, a lock for the national title, a lock for the Heisman. They haven't won a game in 6 weeks. They still seem to have a problem with their defense. They have had 1 game where they've allowed a team to score less than 50 points against them. That was when they let a team score 39 points against them. Unfortunately, they only scored 38 points, so that kind of helped them to lose. And then, one of the feel-good stories of this year in college football was the turnaround that Bill O'Brien had with Penn State. And it was really, he had players jump ship. No scholarships to offer, and Penn State went and made some noise, and they did it by playing on the field. Up until Saturday, when Matt McGloin had to open his mouth and insert both feet. Okay? Now, Penn State was playing Nebraska, and it was a close-fought game, and once again, the referees completely blew a call, which, would have given Penn State the go-ahead touchdown. But, the refs blew the call on the field. So they went to the replay, and on replay, they blew the call again. Clearly, it was a touchdown, not a fumble. Then all of a sudden, after the game, Matt McGloin has to start whining and talking about the conspiracy theorists that are out to get Penn State this year, which I personally think nothing could be further from the truth. He should have done, what any good coach would teach him, is just keep your mouth shut, okay? Let the actions speak for themselves. Bad calls, that goes through all, it goes through high school ball, college ball, pro ball. You have to live with them. The referees are going to screw things up, but with, instant replay, they get to, 2 chances to screw it up. But you really made yourself look bad, and you brought bad attention onto a Penn State program, which, Penn State backers should be proud of what they accomplished this year on the football field. And they shouldn't let his big mouth ruin the good thing that Bill O'Brien's got going on there. So, I wish them the best of luck, and hope you can muzzle that quarterback of yours.
Ooh, that was
Nice.
That was what it was.
Covered a lot of great points there. Some I agree, some I disagree. When you got young kids playing sports, think about the older guys in the NFL and everything saying much worse. Here's a young kid, pretty fiery kid. They took him under his wing, made him a quarterback this year. And he got a little excited there because he's disappointed. And we've seen, this seems to be the theme of 2012. Where are the referees? And, talking about veterans, first I want to thank Mike Migliore for bringing us all together. That's one of the best things that could have happened to all of us here. Thanks again for helping with our country. And whatever you believe, that's why you're entitled to your opinion, just like the rest of us. And that's what makes us all so great. Thanks to Devin. Thanks to all the friends and family that I know that have served in the armed forces and protected our country in a war they agree with or a war they disagree with. So, that's what makes us great. I'm not going to get any more philosophical than that, because I do have a few things to talk about. I need the profit. This is the Al Levine infomercial segment here as we get going here. We have a movie that you must come to Bethel Park High School. It's Heroes Behind the Badge, a documentary film featuring some of the brave men and women of law enforcement who put their lives on the line and survived, and those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Now, this is $20 at the door, because most of you are procrastinators like me and you're not doing this ahead of time. It's $15 if not. So come and see the film. It's going for a great cause. You help out a lot of the organizations that help support the families of these fallen officers. Thanks, Chip. Now we got another thing. Come see Pittsburgh Sportsline at Level 20 on Monday. Put that on your calendar. You're going to see Sammy Vasquez, who's boxing next Saturday night. Not this Saturday night, but the following on the 24th. You'll see him at the Ross Straver, the arena there, or the Ice Gardens. Been around for years. Just ask anybody, you'll find it. And you also have, these guys were talking about Andreas the Greek. So there's another boxer you want to see. And then Sam Vasquez Sr. said you have the Hobbs sisters doing a concert.
Wow.
So look for all of this. what is it, $30, $40 on ice, $60 ringside. You talk about Saturday night entertainment, come on out there. Then a good friend of mine, Bill Russo up here, invited me to the Pitt basketball game. Sorry I couldn't make it, Bill. But I did say I'd do you a favor and talk about your black and gold party here that you have at Peter's Place. I got to get this literature straight because we got so much information. This is Sunday, November 25th. Chip, thanks. You're great at that. Matt, can you sort of get on the...
Oh, yeah, he's
That's
all over.
perfect. No, Matt, you're the best tonight. Thank you. Where's Joe at when you need him? The cost is $35 per person. There's a buffet and an open bar. And listen to this. You can win... There's a $20 block pull. So all you guys that like to get in those block pulls, $20. You can also enter a Chinese auction. There's Apple iPads, laptop computers, 50/50 tickets. I mean, look at this stuff here. Matt, can you get some photos of this? Look what you're going to win here. An iPad. Smoking Jim. There you go, buddy. There's an iPad right for you with the technology and you on that phone and all over the internet. You got to go there. So again, Sunday, November 25th. Doors open at noon. Come on down there. It's all for a great cause. I saved that for last. It's for the Children's Free Care Fund. So it's all for a great cause. Have a great time. Peter's Place right here in Bridgeville, not that far away. All of you in the listening area, even out in Monroeville, because you listen and watch the show. It's not that hard to find. Just Google it on that new iPad, Smoking Jim. Okay, that's it for the infomercials. And all I can say is I picked a winner. I was talking about playing to the level of your opposition. They're talking about they need psychologists to try to figure out why we do this. Well, people have amnesia. We've been doing this since the 70s when we became a good team. Whoever we're playing, 9 times out of 10, maybe 8 times, whatever. But most of the time we play down to that level. And why get crazy about it? Who knows? You can blame a coach, you can blame a referee, the players, but we've all played sports. And you should win. We have a better team. Now without the quarterback, I say put Charlie Batch in, get the 2 games out of him, start scrambling to get Big Ben healthy. Because at least Charlie Batch can throw that little bubble screen. And that's what's on my mind is Al Levine, the talking machine.
Why is Leftwich in front of Batch then?
Because he's younger.
But according to our expert, he's slow.
Well,
Yeah,
you got a gun for
You
him.
know, here's the thing about Byron Leftwich and Charlie Batch as well. And, you know, they're both adequate backups, but they're not somebody that I'm going to hitch my wagon to and expect them to win a lot of games. They're not starting quarterbacks in the NFL for a reason. Okay, Leftwich had his chance as a starting quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars, played his way off of that team, played a year with the Steelers as Ben's backup, signed with Tampa Bay, lasted all of 4 games before they released him. He may be able to fill in for a game or so for you. Now, there's a lot of mystery and a lot of, questions about what's going on with Ben and his shoulder. All day on the radio, all you hear is all these theorists talking about it's this, it's that, it's going to take this long, blah, blah, blah. We don't know any facts just yet. And if there's one thing that I've learned over watching Ben Roethlisberger in his career, do not count this kid out. He is one of the toughest SOBs I've ever seen play this game. And unless his arm is falling out of its socket, I wouldn't be too surprised to see him play on Sunday. But, that seems kind of unlikely if you saw the way he walked off the field yesterday, the way his arm was hanging on his side, and Jim hit on the point, that offensive line. Well, the offensive line played 3 good games in a row, was doing some serious run blocking. Well, they need to do some serious run blocking because, they're going to, the only way that the Steelers are going to have any chance to beat the Ravens this weekend is if they can run the ball. And if the Ravens have shown anything this year is that they can be run on. They've been run on by everybody. So, the recipe for success for the Steelers would be to keep the ball out of Leftwich's hands and start moving some bodies and, running the ball straight down the Ravens' throat. I actually think that the Steelers, would actually have a pretty good chance to win this week, and here's my thought process on this. The Ravens are great in one aspect. They can look really, really good one week and then lose the next. And last week was their week where they looked really, really good. They did this the first game of the season, and they lost the second game of the season to an inferior team. I'm not saying that the Steelers are an inferior team. This is a big rivalry game. Everybody on the Steelers, the two games we play against the Ravens, which technically were the former Cleveland Browns, which is a hatred that's gone back well back into the 50s. This is a game that I think the Ravens could be ripe for the pickings, because now they're all full of themselves. They put up 55 points. I mean, they even pulled a fake field goal when they were up 40-17, just to kind of rub the faces and rub the dirt into the Raiders' faces. So I think karma's going to be come back and bite them on the hind end.
I'm counting Big Ben out.
I saw the replay of the hit, and what it appeared to me is that he didn't hit his shoulder. However, he hit his elbow that jammed it into the shoulder. Now,
you're like a doctor and a professor down at that end.
Also a chemist, but that's beside the point.
What about when the ankle bone's connected to the knee
thigh
bone?
Knee bone. That's how
I skipped one for you. Say thank you.
Oh,
I like that turtleneck.
But
it's Marmite on either end.
We got emails.
I'll tell you what. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm a bit optimistic, but Ben Roethlisberger is one of the toughest football players.
Hold it, Prophet. I hate to disagree with you. We agree on a lot of things, but with Big Ben, there's a conspiracy theory that the wife's pregnant.
Yeah.
So this was his maneuver because the baby's coming early. Mm-hmm. Now, I just say he's going to be out because he's hurt, and they can't put that needle to deaden anything in the arm, because if you have a dead arm, you can't throw the football. So they can't give him anything to numb him up at this point in time. So I think he needs at least a week or two off.
It's all speculation right now, because apparently even, listening to Mike Tomlin's press conference today. Wow. Well, I'm going to tell you what, he was really tart today. He wasn't taking anybody's questions. I never heard so many one-word answers in my life.
Here's why, because here's how you read between the lines. I have some insights on this. When there's not a problem, this guy's as loose as could be. When his quarterback's healthy and he's ready to hug him and he can't kiss him because he's too tall, then he's not playing. And that's part of the thing, because he was so short. I heard the conference. It was all one-word answers and what do you have for me next? So I think there is a problem. My hope is the offensive line can pass block a little bit, because Leftwich, maybe he's slow of foot, but he can't move anywhere. When he gets hit 2 or 3 times by some of those big horses with the Ravens, we're going to have Charlie Batch in there, and I feel better with Batch. My prediction is Leftwich gets beat up and knocked out of the game. Batch comes in, and then we win.
How much age difference is between the two of them? It can't be that much.
About 6 years or something.
Yeah, about five or 6 years.
Leftwich is 1 year older than Big Ben.
Yeah. Charlie Batch has been in the league 16 years.
Yes,
since '97.
Well, if he's a senior citizen in the NFL, why is he even on the squad?
He's called an insurance policy because he's adequate enough to come in for a game or two, like he did last year when there was a suspension.
Charlie Batch,
let's call it what it is. Charlie Batch got some pictures on somebody. There's no backup quarterback. He's only started 4 games since he's been with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
How many did he win?
This is a man that they got rid of him from Detroit. He serves no purpose. They say he helps young quarterbacks out. There's no young quarterbacks on the roster. Charlie Batch is useless. At one time, they were saying that he's a good quarterback coach. Well, you're paying people to be a quarterback coach. Charlie Batch is making over millions of dollars. I tell you what, there's no reason. The Pittsburgh Steelers right now is in a world of trouble, because I tell you what, I love Big Ben. Big Ben's the second toughest quarterback I ever seen this side of Brett Favre. There's never been a quarterback as tough as Brett Favre. Never been a quarterback as good as Brett Favre, and there never will be. But the last time Big Ben had a questionable injury, the concussion, he didn't play against the Ravens. I love Big Ben, but Big Ben don't like to play against the Ravens. He must think Ray Lewis is coming back.
Haloti Ngata popped him in the nose the last time they played.
That's right.
But that's funny you mentioned Brett Favre. The injury that stopped Brett Favre's consecutive game streak is the exact same injury that Ben suffered last night.
Really?
Yes, it is.
Then how do you think Ben's going to play? Come on, Chip, you just give us the facts.
And it was a black coach that benched Brett Favre for that. Leslie Frazier should have let Brett Favre play.
I'm sensing a conspiracy.
Maybe Brett could have still been playing.
I'm thinking there's a
Might have
conspiracy.
saved Leslie Frazier's job. Change your last name, Leslie Frazier.
Okay, I'm going out on the limb. And
Is he related to you?
Not
Is
bitch
that
and
why
Brett Favre.
you're picking on him?
I'm going out on a limb. The Steelers are going to beat the Ravens this weekend at home.
Oh,
Hold
get
on,
that
I already
dollar
said
ready.
they win.
Get that dollar
I already
ready.
said they win.
We
Wait
just
a
got an
second. I
update.
snuck that
just
in.
got an update over here. What is it? Question for you. While you could read your thing, I'll deflect this.
What kind of talk is that down there? Come on. Come on, Big Mike.
What you said a moment ago, I agree with about Ben Roethlisberger being as tough as nails. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. However, my question is, why does he always get hurt? I mean, the guy gets hurt every year, even if it's.
Here's why. I'll give you some stats.
Because of lack of an offensive line.
But he can run. He can
Here's
run his
some
motorcycle
stats.
into a
Listen
car.
to these stats.
Newsflash.
Here, Big Mike, you like some stats. You're a baseball
Oh, I
guy.
got some.
I understand. You wrote a script out there while we were talking about football, basketball, whatever. He's been sacked over 330 times in his career. He's been hit over 330 more times. So it's a tough game. You only play for 10, 20 seconds, but he's gotten pounded there. And the offensive line, we won Super Bowls with a subpar offensive line. So they're still doing the blocking and tackling like they do on offense. It's just not working out every game.
Well,
so that happens, Big Mike.
I it's every time it's me he gets this message.
Well, you're looking right at me. The other guys are ignoring me.
Brett Favre seemed to get hit.
How'd we go to Brett Favre?
Well, because of the injury to Favre that ended his consecutive game streak was the same injury that Big Ben
Who
suffered.
said that?
The Profiteer. Didn't you just say that?
I'm just stirring. We're trying 831.
Yeah, that's
8. No, you forgot the 412.
If they don't know that by now, come on, they're not watching the show.
831-3304. Brett Favre seemed to take a hit and be able to tumble and roll.
You know why? He'd always go backwards when they hit him. He'll tell you that.
Well, then,
Really?
Yeah, he would try to go actually backwards. I heard a couple interviews where when they hit him, he would actually go
Now I got to tell my Brett Favre story.
All right.
Hey, listen, everybody knows that, when Brett Favre came out of Southern Mississippi, he was one of my all-time favorite quarterbacks. Don't forget that Brett Favre, right before his senior year, Brett Favre was in a car accident that killed his best friend. Brett Favre lost his spleen. Immediately, the doctor says that he'd be out for the whole season. He lost 30 pounds, didn't miss a game. His first game his senior year was here against the University of Pittsburgh, and an unknown team from Southern Mississippi almost beat Pitt. And I love not only Brett Favre, but the wide receiver for Southern Mississippi. Then, if you remember him from Cleveland Browns, Michael Jackson. Jackson, tall wide receiver.
Yep.
But never got a chance to meet Brett Favre, even though he was my number one rated quarterback coming out of Southern Mississippi in 1991, where everybody liked Mark McGuire's 6'8" brother that ended up being a bust at San Diego Chargers. He went in the first round. Brett went in the second round. But Brett Favre, they gave up on him in Atlanta. What's the coach in Atlanta? They used to leave tickets to Elvis
Jerry
Presley.
Glanville.
Jerry Glanville gave up.
The man in black.
Said Brett Favre would never be a quarterback. Brett Favre got in the doghouse because Brett Favre liked to drink, even though he killed his best friend. Brett Favre went out the night training camp. He snuck out of training camp, went and got drunk, and missed curfew, missed the team picture. And Brett Favre came up, and Jerry Glanville says, "Where you been, Brett Favre?" And Brett Favre says, "Coach, I'm sorry, I was in a car accident." So he says, "You want to rethink that?" Because he's looking at his car in the parking lot. So he says, "Well, Coach, would you believe I seen a car accident?" So they got rid of Brett Favre, traded him to Green Bay. But here's my Brett Favre story. Brett Favre's best friend is Steve Ear McNair. Best friends. They used to go fishing together down there in Mississippi. So before the Steelers in Minnesota played 3 years ago, I went into the locker room, and early before the game, Brett Favre was playing Slap the Towel, and everybody's hiding. I'm glad he didn't get mine. Boy, he got a good snap. And, so I talked to Brett Favre. We talked about Ear McNair, and we both kind of got a little teary-eyed a little bit. So I told Brett Favre, I says, "Brett Favre, I'm gonna give you a little secret. I said, Brett Favre, anytime you see William Gay, throw that way. And if you guys remember, that's the game William Gay got exposed. Not only did Brett Favre throw 2 or 3 touchdowns over William Gay, but don't forget Adrian Peterson ran right over William Gay and stepped on his chest and kept on going. I'm sorry, Steeler fans, but I let the cat out of the bag. Willie Gay was a bum then, and he's a bum now. But that's my Brett Favre story. Gave him a little insight.
Well, you know, that's just
but he didn't even give me no Levi jeans. I'm still waiting on my Levi jeans.
The Wranglers.
Brett Favre.
It's Wranglers.
Is it Wrangler
Yeah,
jeans?
That's why
Brett Favre is afraid that I'll be sagging in them jeans. I'll pull them up, brother. I'll put a belt on, brother.
Nah, you know what? And to speak to what else was going on in the NFL this weekend, you know, there's questions now as to how well the NFL is protecting their quarterbacks. And if you look at the number of star quarterbacks that went down this weekend, Jay Cutler was concussed, Alex Smith was concussed.
Michael Vick. Severe.
The coach killer, Michael Vick, was concussed.
Severe.
And Big Ben went down.
Severe concussion.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's the only way that they could get the backup in there. And Andy Reid, if you want to save your job, you sit Mike Vick on the bench, you know, because here's what. Next year, Michael Vick will not be in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform because of the contract they signed with him. His salary goes up significantly. And I'm sorry, you cannot make a pocket passer out of Michael Vick. And you know what? His days in the NFL are numbered. You know, his brother Marcus tweets, you know, he should demand a trade. You know, nobody else in the NFL wants you, okay? You know, so just, you know, ride it out, collect your paycheck. I hope you paid off enough of your debts that you still have a little something left. But, you know, you look at what's happened with the quarterbacks this week, and then you look what happened with Ryan Clark last night. Ryan Clark last night's got his second concussion in 15 days. Now, you know, the coach today at his conference says, oh, Ryan Clark looks pretty good, and if the doctors clear him, he's going to play him. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm telling you right now, you know, these head injury things and these, you know, this CTE stuff that guys are faring, and you know, these guys are showing signs of dementia when they're in their early 50s and stuff like that. You know, Ryan Clark's a young man right now, and he's an athlete. He's a warrior. He wants to get out there and play. So far this year, he's been the Steelers' best defensive player. They need to just tell this young man to sit down, even if he is cleared, because, you know, 2 concussions in that short of a period of time, you know, it's going to scramble your brain. You're going to feel effects of this later on in life. You need to protect yourself for your family's sake.
Hold on, Chip. If you ever listen to his show, I mean, I think he does a show in competition with us right now on the radio. I forget the name of it. But he does a show. Just listen to him sometime. All right? It's too late. Smoking Jim will tell you. These things are too late. He's also fine. I've never heard a head coach say after a guy's got a second concussion in less than roughly 2 weeks, like you're saying, that he passed his test. Ryan Clark is quoted as saying he passed the test, and when the doctors go through this, he should be okay.
Well, you know,
think about what he's going to be like.
The flaw in the system, and even Peyton Manning, you know, did this, is when they do their baseline tests, when they get to training camp, that what they do is instead of answering the tests honestly, they dumb them down so that if they ever do get a head injury, that the answers will be closer to what they would give after their brain's injured. You know, so if the players aren't being honest with the doctors, how can they protect these players? Because actually what you're trying to do is not protect them from each other, is protect them from themselves. These guys want to play. That's what they do, you know. And
they're not going to protect them from themselves because of the sport and the billion-dollar contracts and everything else. That's what's going on. We had this discussion last year, and I said go to a soft helmet.
I remember that.
And that will change.
The old leather flaps?
No.
No face mask? No face mask?
Chin strap.
I'll promote a product. Have a Zoom bag, because Zoom Bang is a product that I met a gentleman at the Passion when they were hosting the championship game. The Zoom Bang product. It's Zoom like Zoom Bang. Sorry. That's what they should make a helmet out of, a soft one with that, because you won't get hurt, but then they can't have that helmet and all the padding so they can be a projectile. That's part of the problem. Look, you got 400-pound animals running 4.5s. You know, come on, these guys are huge. Look at, they work out all the time. And I don't know if they use any enhancing drugs, but I'm suspicious. So you got all this young people, they're what did we think we're in the 20s? Maybe Big Mike thinks he's still like that. But we thought we were invincible. How are you going to change a young person's mind when they're in the greatest shape of their life? So you have the equipment. They're ready to kill somebody. You don't need a bounty. You don't need any of that.
That's really,
and that's part of the problem.
For changes to be made, that's what's going to happen.
This whole country's getting so soft, Big Mike. Hey, listen, people come to the games. It's a collision sport. These guys are running around here now with no thigh pads, no hip pads, no tail pads, no knee pads. These guys couldn't play 20 and 30 years ago because they would take your knees out. Hey, listen, I'm going to tell you this. People laugh at me when I say I believe that Oregon and some of the great teams, some of the Miami teams could beat some of these teams in the National Football League. People think it's a joke, but in 1965, a college all-star team led by Roger Staubach, Gale Sears, and the defensive captain Dick Butkus was all over Jim Brown and the Cleveland Browns like gravy on rice. The coach was Otto Graham, 76. The same college all-star team whooped the defending Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers. Listen, if anybody likes football, there's still a good brand of football in college football. NFL's nothing but flag football. This country's getting soft.
And I'll tell you what, to speak to the good caliber of football, last Friday night I was at one of the WPIAL semifinal games. I watched Upper St. Clair take apart a very good Central Catholic team.
And where was this located at?
At Baldwin High School. But
Nice.
the thing about it is, watching high school football is football at its purest form. There's no clowning, there's no shucking, there's no jiving. I mean, the kids go out there and they play football. They bust each other, and there's some good solid hitting. The semifinal game this Friday night, I'm going to go watch Upper St. Clair play Woodland Hills. Sorry about that, Jim. It should have been Upper St. Clair and Gateway, but this Upper St. Clair team that I watched on Friday night, boy, did they dismantle a very good Central Catholic team. I look at them to be in the in the finals, and I'm looking at them to face North Allegheny. Now, North Allegheny is going to be facing a very strong Seneca Valley team. Seneca Valley is good enough to make it, but they played North Allegheny once. North Allegheny beat them, and that'll be the other semifinal game that's being played up at Martorelli Stadium in the North Hills. But there's going to be some great games all over the place. There's going to be a really good game here in Bethel Park, where West Allegheny is going to be playing Thomas Jefferson on Friday night. But I'll tell you what, you want to go see some good football for $6. You get in, you get great seats, and you'll watch some of the best football that you've ever seen.
You didn't apologize to me.
Yeah, I didn't
apologize to him for Gateway, but I got nothing. And you even watched the destroying of the
I'll tell you what,
the
kid that's a quarterback for Central Catholic, big kid, and he's got a cannon for an arm. But I mean, Central Catholic crossed the 50-yard line once.
Wow!
And it was on a very long run by the running back. Then they lined up for the field goal, and Upper St. Clair promptly blocked that, and that ended any scoring chance they had. Upper St. Clair beat them 38-0. They went to the mercy rule like within 2 seconds of getting into the fourth quarter.
That's because
and it was game over. No one. I watched the fourth quarter of the Seneca Valley Mount Lebanon game, and Seneca Valley just wore down Mount Lebanon until finally they just ran them off the field in the fourth quarter. I mean, the game was fairly competitive through 3 quarters, and then Seneca Valley just completely wore out Mount Lebanon. But going to be some great high school football games this Friday. Championships are the day after Thanksgiving. My good friend Smoking Jim here will be down at Heinz Field doing the WPIAL finals. So, you want to see some good football. I'm sure it'll be on Root Sports. Get down there to see it. You'll see some of the best football you've seen all year.
Hey, what about that Post-Gazette paper you've been bringing around the last couple weeks with you two deciding
stuff?
Well,
we got.
What do you have there?
Well, Smoking Jim, you want to do your picks for this for the semifinals?
This is a new favorite there. We got
got North Allegheny and Seneca Valley, and I know you like Seneca Valley here.
I'm going to go with the upset. Nothing against North Allegheny. Greg Garrity's son used to be a receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Greg Garrity, his son, one of the many former pros and current sons of coaches of Pitt and the Steelers is on North Allegheny. But I'm gonna go with the Brown boy at the quarterback.
Yeah.
And
then, we got Upper St. Clair
Thanks,
and
Smokey.
Woodland Hills playing at Baldwin, and I'm going to tell you, after what I watched Upper St. Clair do last weekend, I think, I think they're going to take it to Woodland Hills.
I think Woodland Hills is still celebrating the upset the referees helped them with against Gateway. They won't have the referees help this week.
Okay, so in the AAA playoffs, we've got Thomas Jefferson versus West Allegheny. TJ. And West Mifflin's playing Central Valley. Are we going to see a rematch of Thomas Jefferson and West Mifflin?
Well, I think that they want that. West Mifflin, I told you early on that West Mifflin is loaded this year. Wheeler at running back. They're absolutely loaded, but I think that the people want to sell tickets to Heinz Field, and Foster, future, hopefully Pitt recruit. It's between Pitt and Alabama right now. Both of them lost this past weekend, and I think that Foster and Central Valley gets that victory.
Okay, all right. Well, then we go to the AA playoffs, and the AA playoffs, these semifinals are just loaded. 3 of the 4 teams in the playoffs are undefeated. So it looks like, more than likely, you're going to see an undefeated matchup. You got Aliquippa 11-0 versus Jeanette. They're going to be playing at Peters Township.
Well, one of my best friends, Coach Hall, is coach at Jeanette. Nobody picks some ribs like Coach Hall. I tell you what, he can put them down. But Aliquippa is absolutely loaded this year. Aliquippa may be the best team in all of football. So Aliquippa beats Jeanette in the Black Hoop.
Well, and in the next game we got South Fayette going up against Washington, and South Fayette in the first 10 games they went to the Mercy Rule all 10 times. The first 10 games they won again last week, but you got Washington, and Washington's 11-0, and they got Shy McKenzie who's been running the ball, and Washington's running game's tough to beat. Who do you like there, Jim?
Well, South Fayette got the great passing game, record-breaking passer.
The Brumbaugh, one of the Brumbaugh twins?
One of the twins.
Brothers,
They
yep.
got about 4 of them. A
Yep.
couple of them already graduated. And I tell you what, they love to burn couches in West Virginia, and I've never met more drunks than in Washington, PA. So I think that the moonshine will be cracking over in Washington, PA, where the commissioner, Roger Goodell, used to be a Washington and Jefferson graduate where he was a bartender. He worked his way through college as a bartender, so he knows about the drunks in Little Washington, PA.
Okay, so now we go to the single A playoffs, and one of Jim's favorite teams, the Clairton Bears, their 58-game winning streak. They win this week. They tie the state record for wins that was set by Central Bucks West, I believe, from 1997 to 2000. They are playing Neshannock, which upset. Who did they upset? Who did Neshannock upset last week? I forget who they upset.
Back.
But you got Clairton against Neshannock, and you've got Stowe Rocks versus North Catholic. Are we going to see a repeat of last year's final?
Well, I tell you what, I got a pocket full of money for any Clairton player that can spell Neshannock. I'll go with what the coach for Clairton told me. He says, we got Tyler Boyd, nobody else got Tyler Boyd, so you got to go with Clairton.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting that the state record.
What did you get that out of a horse? It looked like you choked a horse with that. Sorry. I'm impressed.
The state record for consecutive wins is 59, set by Central Bucks West back in the late 90s. Do you know what the national undefeated streak is?
About 140 some games.
One of the teams out in California.
Yeah, one of the teams out in California, they won 140 some games in a row. And that is, if you think about that, that's about 12 years of undefeated teams and that many state champions. That is absolutely unbelievable. Yeah. But the record for Pennsylvania is 59, so Clairton can tie it this week, and then you've got the Stowe Rocks versus North Catholic here, and that's going to be at Keystone Oaks.
Well, I've been wrong on North Catholic before. Stowe Rocks is loaded again this year, absolutely loaded. Of course, they were loaded last year when Clairton blew them out at the biggest high school football stadium in Pittsburgh, Heinz Field. It ain't nothing but a high school, unfinished stadium, a high school stadium with luxury boxes. But I think that it'll be Stowe Rocks and Clairton again.
Okay, so there, you know what? Some great high school football games this weekend. If you get a chance, go out. It's a great way to spend a Friday evening.
There you go. You can't beat that. We got the Fiction and Fact Almanac crew here giving their picks here for the high school, so we love that.
High school football is big in Western PA, you know, so.
Well, they were on KDKA, or I forget, I don't remember what station, but I thought it was that. They were saying how there's a problem. There's some of the coaches are saying that high school football's on the decline.
Wow.
So who knows? We'll have to see what plays out in the next couple of years because of all the different sports that are out there.
Well, the reason it's on the decline is guys like Walt Harris, and I like Walt Harris. Walt Harris was a good guy. Any guy that leave his wife for a tenderoni is a good guy. But, hey, listen, Walt Harris's problem was, I remember the year he recruited Tyler Pelko. And Tyler Pelko was everything ball player coming out of West Allegheny. He never tried to recruit Stevie Breston, who went on and had a great career at Michigan. And they asked him, why didn't you recruit Stevie Breston? He says, well, we recruited Tyler Pelko. They're like, he's going to play receiver at Michigan. He's like, oh, I didn't know he wanted to play receiver. We would have recruited him then. Stevie Breston was begging to go to Pitt. But Walt Harris didn't recruit him. And sadly, the coach that's there now that can't lead silent prayer, I can't imagine him walking into anybody's living room and impressing them enough to go to Pitt.
And I'll tell you right now, Pitt's got big problems there because, I mean, Paul Christ, you know, you listen to him and, you know, he's still trying to figure out how to block and tackle. And these are things that he should have done in spring practice. But, you know, they're only 10 games into the season. And they're 4-6, okay? And I don't think Pitt has a chance in hell of becoming bowl eligible this year because I think Rutgers is going to take them down because Rutgers is the powerhouse of the Big East. And how the Big East gets an automatic BCS bid is beyond me. You know, I mean, that just shows you how much of a farce, right? How much of a farce the BCS is. You know, and the BCS has come up with this new this playoff format.
Next year.
For, you know, they've got the playoff format for 2013. But they got a system now where they're going to use some of the bowl games as lead-in games to their playoff system, which they've completely screwed things up. But the problem that they're going to have with this is going to be driven by the conferences. So really, you know, it's going to be more of the same BCS crap because, you know, it's driven by the money-making conferences. So all of the teams that don't get a chance to play in it. You know, do you realize that there's more teams in college football that make it to bowl games than not? And
wow.
Pitt's not going to make it to a bowl game this year.
Those are great points, Chip. Like we've talked about, the BS, it's a BS system, as we've called it. And that's the problem, because it is all about the money. You see that all the time, and it changes it. Maybe Notre Dame will help to break that up, but they might want it this way. Because, look, maybe they'll get into it, and people get the votes for them to put them in there. Because it'll be all about money.
Notre Dame's the only school that can, I mean, they negotiated their own national television contract.
Wow.
You know, I mean, when are teams like Alabama going to do something like that? But, you know, they got the SEC in their back pocket. But, you know, on the flip side of college sports, you know, the college basketball season just started this past weekend, and now all the college basketball teams are playing all the cupcakes on their schedule, so everybody's going to start the season off, you know, 2-0. But again, Pitt's made the news again. Another one of their recruits is jumping ship. Joe Johnson has left the team and he's going to transfer to another school. So, you know, last year the Pitt basketball program had the same problem with one of their top-ranked recruits. Jumped ship, and look what happened with the Pitt team last year. They were, you know, fell far below the standards that Jamie Dixon's teams have had, and it'll be, again, it'll be another interesting year in Oakland to see what happens. And I wonder why all these kids are, you know, commit to Pitt, and then they get there, and then all of a sudden nobody wants to play here. Wow. They want to leave. That's a good question.
Chip, part of it is, from what I see, is Jamie Dixon has this system that he tries to put him in. Ben Holland taught him that. Smoking Jim told me that. Man. So he taught him, and some of these guys, like he may have been offended because he didn't get to play in the first game. He missed that game last week, and that seems to be the style of what the other kid last year left, because his time wasn't what he expected. He wanted to play 20 minutes, and they're playing him 4 or 6 minutes.
Okay, but
so he's trying to teach these kids like what I talk about, some of the discipline that build character. So then they are tougher in that fourth quarter. Look at some of the miracles, whether you like Jamie Dixon or not. He has some talent there that they come through at the end some of the times.
But, here's the question, and maybe I'm confused, and if I am, would somebody please enlighten me? But being the head coach of the basketball team, wouldn't you think you would recruit players that fit into your system instead of trying to jam a square peg into a round hole? I mean, if the guy isn't a fit for your system, what are you doing wasting time recruiting them? Recruit players that are going to fit into your system and don't want to be here.
Hold it, Chip. Here's where I disagree. Don't we all have egos up here?
Not I.
Not I.
Well, you think you're right on some things, right? Unless you say, correct me if I'm wrong. But part of the problem is you're dealing with sports. You got media involved. These guys get a reputation. Look at all the wins Jamie Dixon has. Whether it's right or wrong or it's well-deserved, he has a certain belief system that he can do that.
Smoking Jim.
Well, let me ask Big Mike a question, because I know Big Mike follows a lot of Western Pennsylvania athletics. And either you guys can answer this. Who was the best player that Pitt had in the last 10 years?
In what sport?
In basketball.
Tall guy. Can't remember his name.
Aaron Gray?
Let's say DeJuan Blair.
Yeah.
Okay.
DeJuan Blair is the best player Pitt had in the last 10
and
years.
done.
And that's the only City League player that Pitt has recruited. DeJuan Blair can roll from his house on the hill down to the University of Pitt's campus in about 2 minutes. You got all these kids that play basketball in the city of Pittsburgh and in the WPIAL that would die, that would love to play for the University of Pittsburgh, and they don't recruit these players. I don't understand why. When you got a guy like DeJuan Blair, who wasn't a 5-star or a 4-star player coming out of high school, they figured he was a reach even to get at the University of Pittsburgh. And, he comes on there, and in 2 years, he totally dominated. He went to the NBA after 2 years. I think that's the blueprint. You continue to recruit these local phenoms, at least a couple of them every year.
Jamie Dixon has always done very well recruiting in New York City, and being that Pitt had the Big East tournament to dangle, and like, look, all these kids, you come to Pitt, I'm going to get you to play in front of your home folks at Madison Square Garden. He had that. Now that we're moving to the ACC, I mean, the ACC's got a lot to offer. There's a lot of good basketball programs to play against. But, he's going to lose that recruiting ground that he's done so well in. So Chip, maybe it is a good
He already lost the New York connection. He lost two of his coaches.
Yeah, Jamie Dixon wouldn't know his way if you
Right.
dropped him in a
he doesn't know where Harlem is. He doesn't know. He doesn't know where Madison Square Garden is because the cab brings him. But he did lose his recruiters there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so that's already happened. So some of that thing is, like you're saying, we have a lot of talent in this area.
Yeah, and
they go and play for other schools.
And that's another thing that baffles me is that why does it doesn't seem like Pitt pulls the good athletes out of the hotbed of athletes that we got here in football. I mean, you watch these Whippeals get. All these kids are going to Michigan, Alabama, they're going to Oregon, they're going to Arizona. You name the schools, they're going there. They're going to Ohio State. They're certainly not staying here at home. And I mean, wouldn't you think that these kids would love the opportunity to be able to play in front of their friends and family?
Oh, yeah.
But this guy is he is so low key. I mean, I listened to his press conference, and somebody's going to wake me up 3 minutes into it because he's put me to sleep.
Well, here's a guy that's been recruited. So here's why I think a kid would choose a school. Probably a couple more than 2 reasons that I can come up with. But one is what they promise you. And 2 is the prestige of the university. So you mentioned Michigan State and blah, blah, blah. Well, those are prestigious universities as well as Pitt is. But doesn't the coach or whomever represents the university that comes to your house promise you a couple things? I'm not talking about that wad of money.
You mean like Terrell Pryor, he got promised more money at Ohio State.
I'm not talking about that wad of money.
That's why he went to go play for
But they promise you a start. They promise you a tournament. They promise you maybe a ring, blah, blah, blah.
How many cars? Anybody?
Here's the big thing what Colorado used to do. The biggest thing for young recruits when they go away on recruiting visits is lips, hips, and fingertips. Colorado got busted doing that. These guys, you get them a pretty girl, they're going to sign with that school. But all these guys are phenoms in high school. Coaches all lie to them that they're going to get an opportunity to start. They'll even lie like Pitt did to Darrelle Revis and say, Revis, you can play basketball and football at 5'11". We know you were a great forward at Aliquippa. You could play Division I basketball here, and he did that as a walk-on for 1 year. So they'll promise you anything, but believe me, guys that are 17, 18, you go on the recruiting visit and they see some pretty girls on campus, there's a good chance they're going to sign. Just ask University of Miami.
More insights from Smoking Jim.
But hey, you know what? Before we got to give props to Mike's Forte over here. You know, they elected the National League and American League rookies.
I thought you was getting into politics.
Absolutely.
No. We almost went to a commercial.
Wrong Mike. That's the other Mike.
Hold it, the producer almost.
You almost went to a commercial on Chip.
Hold it, I was going like this.
The
right
American League MVP was Mike Trout from
Correct.
the Los Angeles Angels.
Whoa.
Yes, the American League MVP was Mike Trout from the Los Angeles Angels.
When did that get announced?
The other day.
Today. Yes, and Bryce Harper was the National League MVP.
MVP, Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year.
You said
Rookie of the
MVP.
Year. Okay,
He missed-
That's a
Rookie
real
of the
big
Year.
difference.
That
I
was
like
us,
Bryce.
Rookie
Yeah,
of the
I
Year.
like
Yeah.
Bryce.
Big
Talking
Mike.
rookie. Bryce Harper was the second youngest gentleman to be elected the Rookie of the Year. By 24 days, Dwight Gooden beat him back in 1984 as Rookie of the Year. And Bryce Harper hit the most home runs ever by a teenager in the major leagues this year.
At
He
19
got some
years
brother.
old.
He got some brother in him.
He turned 20 years old on October the 16th after the season was over.
I like them gold spikes at the All-Star.
So you know,
He could have been
let's-
in the World Series at 20.
Let's tip her. Well, yeah, they could have done that if they wouldn't have sat their ace starting pitcher in
I
September.
was just trying to rile him up a little bit.
You know?
These are what we talk about during the winter meetings when baseball's out of session.
Yeah, and there's really not much happening on the free agent front. There's been very few signings, and
Hold it, I have a Pirate report. The 10th richest baseball owner is not him.
All right, here we go.
Well, here's
Here we go.
something that the
Time out.
Pirates did do this year. They hired as
tape over his
an assistant to the general manager. They hired a guy that worked in the Yankee scouting department for the last 22 years, which to me shows that the Pirates are trying to learn from a successful organization. Did you hear about that?
I'm confused. I think you got it confused. You said they hired a guy from the Yankee organization?
Yes, they did, as an assistant to the general manager.
When?
You're
Last
missing
week.
too much.
No, I got something.
What's on your script there? Because we got a minute to go here, my friend.
Oh boy, this is gonna be a toughie.
You know what? Keep it short and
was
succinct.
But the Pirates hired an assistant to the general manager who was in the Yankees organization for the last 22 years in their scouting department.
Yeah, did you see what they did to the other guy?
He quit.
Because
Losing. He doesn't want to be here
and
for
what else?
21
and what
years
else?
of losing.
Because the Yankees wanted to interview him at the end of the season, and the Pirates said no. And I'll tell you what, shame on you, Pittsburgh Pirates. Shame on you. You disgust me with that ownership and that management that you got. Absolutely disgust me. And that's why you don't get a dime of my money. That's why you'll never get a dime of my money anymore as long as you are in control.
And on
You know
that
what I'm
happy
talking to.
note, we're going to have to wrap this
Big
up.
Mike.
Big Mike Butera, thanks for your insights. Smoking Jim Frazier, the Fiction and Fact Almanac was on fire. Chip the Prophet Hayner comes out with his outspoken statements and facts. Appreciate that. This is Al Levine, the Talking Machine. Thanks for watching the show. Catch us on YouTube. Catch us also next Monday night, Level 20. Sammy Vasquez, the fighter, will be there, among other guests.
Oh, wow.
We'll see you all there. Thanks again for watching the show.